Oh, hey, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Efficiency Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Leone. This podcast is dedicated to all the women out there who are aspiring to have a career while raising a family. And bitch? Well, that's more than a name and even an attitude. We use it as an acronym. It's for bank, inbox, time, connection, and harmony. Each episode is labeled according to the correct topic so that you can efficiently find the topic that you're looking for. I'm here to tell you, you can have your cake and eat it too. The trick is finding efficient ways to get through the have-tos so that you can make room for your best life. I can show you how. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Efficiency Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Leone. So today I want to do a real quick episode to talk about cell phones. Like, I don't know a person on the planet who isn't attached to their cell phone all the time. And I recently made the decision to give my daughters, who are 10 and 12, cell phones. And it's a scary world out there for parents and cell phones. And I did a lot of research and I spent a lot of time asking people different things. And I ultimately landed on that they can now have a cell phone, but with some very tight rules and restrictions. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why I gave them that opportunity and how I think it's going to help them with their efficiency later in life. So the first thing I want you to know is if you're getting your kids a cell phone, it matters what you pay for. I originally started with a Gizmo watch with my kids, and it was really good when they were little, like 8, 9, 10, because they would lose their phone if they had one, right? So put it on their watch. It's attached to their person. They can't lose it, in theory. They shouldn't lose their watch if it stays on their body, right? And that was great because I could track them. I could auto answer if they didn't answer my calls. They could respond to me by text or by voice. And so that worked really well when they were pretty young, going to practice or coming home from school or whatever. And as the girls got older, they wanted phones because they saw adults with phones. I had 2 phones from my husband and I that were older models. And so we let them use them kind of as play phones in our minds. And they would take pictures and they only had Wi-Fi and there was no cell phone service attached. And I started to learn the rules of Apple's parental controls. Now, Apple has some awesome parental controls. I don't know a lot about Android, but I would imagine they're pretty similar. They stay pretty competitive. And I was able to block Safari so they can't get on the internet. I was able to block Google Chrome. So there's no web surfing. I was able to block all social media. So no YouTube, no Facebook, no TikTok, right? No Instagram. I didn't want them on those types of channels that they're not ready for. But what I did want and what I wanted to talk about here was the way that we're teaching the kids to optimize the tools for efficiency that a cell phone brings. For example, I set up my girls' front page on their phone to have their calendar widget very large, so that they can see everything that's happening in their day. And if you're watching the video, if you're watching this on YouTube, it looks very similar to this. So the calendar shows up at the very top, very large. There's a weather station, all the things that they would need to see very quickly. And I'll put a screenshot in the attachments so that you can see exactly how to optimize their cell phone screen. So calendars first, there's a weather. I also put their battery power as a large widget because my girls forget to charge their phones. So they needed that auto reminder as soon as they look at their phone. I also added some other apps that they use for school. Many schools are using different technologies to keep them up to date with their grades or communication, or even my daughter's math class. They don't have a textbook. They go online. So we added those widgets there for easy access. And then I controlled the parental controls to grant them access to those specific sites. But here's the thing. When I did that, I created both the kids an email address to go with their Apple ID. And so now when they have a volleyball game or piano practice or birthday party or whatever at school, I put it in my calendar for the family, but I also add them as attendees, right, in the calendar invitation. So it pops up on their calendar. And I've got them in a habit now of every morning, what's on your calendar? And I ask them to go in and add things to their calendar as necessary and add me to the event so that I can see what they're doing. And I'm starting to teach them that time management of their calendars. Now, they're not perfect at this. They're 10 and 12 years old, but we're on the path to that. The other tool that I'm teaching them to use very proficiently is the alarms. So inside the phone, there's a clock and you can customize alarms. You can have alarms go off every Monday at 2:40 or, whatever you need it to be, every Wednesday at 3:30, just a one-off. And then you can write in the alarm description what it was for. So I have my oldest has a reminder at 8:00 every night to put her retainers in because she forgets. And she probably still would forget with the alarm, but it helps me to hear it to help her remember. And then eventually the habit will form so that she's remembering herself. We have a lot of other things like this. One of them needs to wear her ID to school every day. It's part of their dress code. And so we have an alarm that goes off to remind her to do that. Today on the way to school, she needed to remember to ask her teacher something. And I said, put it in your alarm, set it for vibrate only so it doesn't go off in the middle of, class, but set the alarm so that you can remember. And so our phones, my point here is that our phones have all these amazing tools that can really help young people, teenagers in particular, really get a grip on their efficiency and be able to have the things that they want and keep order and structure to the things that they have to do so that they can go do the things they want to do. I was talking to my brother-in-law about this over the weekend, and he said, I'm just starting to recognize the tools that our cell phones have available. And he even used an example of he sets an alarm every day to take his vitamins. And I thought, yes, like adults don't do this enough. And we have these things attached to us 24/7. We need to start utilizing them in the most efficient way so that we can really get the most productivity out of a tool that is attached to us anyhow. So if you have other tips and tricks on ways that you use your phone for efficiency, either in your life or for your teenagers, I'd love to hear them. I hope you will send them to me by email or attach it in the show notes, in the comments below the episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you have been around a while, I really appreciate you coming back. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe so that you get alerts for every new episode. Until then, I'm your host, Melissa Leone. See ya. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you so much for listening. If you're new around here, please be sure to leave us a review on any podcast platform you're listening to. And you can always reach out to me to let me know what topics you're interested in hearing about, or maybe telling me someone you think would be great for the show. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at EfficiencyBee. Until next time, see ya!